everybody. This is KOIN 6 Meteorologist Josh Cozart coming live to you in the KOIN NOW studio. This is our brand new way of really kind of sharing the information that is important to you. And what better way to start off than talking about the wet to the warm weather that we expect to see here in the Pacific Northwest. It's been a bit of a gloomy start to the month of January, or I should say June now. Don't take us back to January, Josh. But we are really excited about this brand new way of streaming to you. Everything is done right in front of your cell phone screen. This is KOIN 6 News on the go, the latest information out to you. And I'm pushing a lot of buttons back here. We're going to get down to the steak and potatoes of things here in just a minute. But this is really cool technology that we are so excited to start implementing right here with KOIN 6. And we're excited that you're able to join us live on YouTube and also right now at KOIN.com. So let's go ahead. Let's dive into this wild weather that we are really starting to see here across much of the Pacific Northwest. A beautiful live look across our area. Downtown Portland looking mighty fine on this Monday. It's only the third day of June, but it really kind of feels like the middle of March with all of the gray and wet weather that we have seen across our area. But we are expecting to see those temperatures warm up over the next several days. We are talking about potentially breaking some records for us. But as we take a live look right now, maybe picking up on a stray raindrop or two across the area, not expected to be as impactful as what we saw even just yesterday. But as we work our way through the next several days, eventually we'll be able to kind of dry out our skies and return that sunshine. Right now, only 60 degrees here in the city. Back at about noon, we were seeing our temperatures hover right around 62 degrees. So we're down a few degrees despite moving ourselves into what is typically the warmer point of the day here in the Portland metro area, much of the Willamette Valley as well, as we expect to see this unseasonably late atmospheric river still take aim at much of our area. But our sunset tonight, another sign that the summer season is quickly approaching at about 8:54. And those winds on the breezier side making that 60-degree temperature feel just a little bit cooler out there with winds out the west at about 17 miles per hour. We have seen a good drink of water here across our area over the past several days. This has been a really nice sight to see, especially as we start talking about the potential for wildfire activity ramping up. But we've picked up a trace back on Saturday here in the city, but just yesterday alone, breaking a daily record for the amount of rainfall, almost 7/10 of an inch. You also got to keep in mind that this month typically are about our fourth driest here in the city. So this is a significant change of pace for us as we kind of ended the month of May on the wet side and now starting the month of June also on a soggier note. And just to kind of put it all into perspective, today we've already managed to add to the rain gauge at about 1/4 of an inch. That falling primarily just after the midnight hour, went through the overnight time frame, and then eventually kind of rolled its way into the next several hours, and still potentially picking up another little round of the wet weather for us here across the area. A live look at radar and satellite, that's where we are still picking up on that nice onshore flows. The atmospheric river continues to impact us here across the Pacific Northwest, and this is really something that we're going to continue to hold on to not only for the rest of this afternoon, but really through the overnight hours and even into our Tuesday. So no need to fear the summer heat. It's on its way. We just got to pack our patience. If you're a lover of the rain, today, tomorrow, still the prime day for you as those temperatures are going to be staying on the comfortable side. And you'll notice we're really still kind of picking up, and I'm going to use a little bit of a drawing tool here. You can see the moisture still just offshore. That's going to continue to push its way back into our area. That's going to be the wet weather that we pick up on primarily after about 5, 6 o'clock this evening, taking us past the sunset hour, which again is almost 9 o'clock or so for this time of year. But we'll zoom in, give you a closer look at the Portland area itself. And anywhere that you see the greens, that's going to be those light, just kind of a bit of a drizzle for us. But we are picking up on a little bit of that yellow and orange, still kind of fizzling out over the west hills of the Portland area. And right now, just cloudy skies, cooler temperatures, and the occasional brief, quick-moving raindrop or two. Now, we are in Pride Month, and that means we are ramping up already with this third day of the brand new month with the Portland Pride Ride. So this is really exciting. Poison Waters, Portland's one of many drag queens, is going to be out strolling the streets of Portland here, and we do expect to see those mostly cloudy skies with those temperatures sliding back into the low 60s. So by about 3 o'clock, maybe 63 degrees. If we get a few of those clouds to really start to break apart, that will help us to warm back up, but really not expecting daytime highs much warmer than the mid-60s for us here across the Rose City. Now, I had mentioned that atmospheric river. That was very impactful for much of the Pacific Northwest over the past several days. Really, yesterday, I was up in Seattle, and it was just downpouring. Much of the same in Portland once I got in at about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. That's where we really held on to those soaking rains as well, and still seeing some of the lasting impacts. Now, atmospheric rivers are typically something that we see in the month of January, February, our winter months. It's really kind of the impactful moisture that the whole West Coast sees for much of the winter months, and it just so happens to still be impacting us this late into the season. But it's good news. It's helping to reduce our pollen counts. It's also helping to keep those temperatures on the cooler side, and also keeping our landscape wet. We got to start talking about wildfire potential as we move into Portland and Oregon and Washington's typically drier summer months. Now, it's primarily going to be about the late July, August, September time frame that we really start to see that fire potential ramp up. It's been a slow warming trend for us, so that's good news. That means that the snowpack is still there, but also seeing the atmospheric river is going to be beneficial to us. What we don't want to see is the sudden cutoff in moisture. That has the potential to really kind of increase the growth spurt of a lot of our vegetation. And if we cut off that moisture, say at the beginning of July or even within the next week or two, that has the potential to create a very dry landscape. All of that extra brush that we helped sustain and grow during this rainy period has the potential to dry back out and increase our wildfire potential. So that's something that really needs to be in the forefront of our mind. We're not out of the woods just yet, but at least for the time being, pumping the brakes on that fire potential. So as far as the atmospheric river goes, you can really kind of see that moisture coming to an end. It's really just kind of cut off right here as we work our way into the middle of the week. And that's really going to help to build a lot of the warmth that we see as not only the atmospheric river plays into the jet stream, and it's kind of the gatekeeper between the cold air to the north and the warm air to the south, but it will be bringing back some drier weather for us as well. You can see that here within about the next 6 to 10 days. The Climate Prediction Center really kind of putting a bullseye on the drying trend for much of our forecasting area. Northwest Oregon, Southwest Washington, much of Washington itself. The only wet spots expected to be seen are out towards the southeast corner of our state of Oregon, and that's where the wet weather will still hold tried and true. And we like to see that moisture, but maybe if you're longing for more summer-like conditions, the good news is we will start to dry out here in western Oregon and Washington. And that drying trend just so happens to come with a big warming trend as well. You can really kind of see, we'll go ahead and we'll circle this area. This is going to be the brunt of those warmer conditions, above average, above normal. Keep in mind, Portland should be hovering in towards the low to mid 70s for this time of year, for the start of June. We are expected to exceed that exponentially. I mean, we're talking about daytime highs potentially climbing back up into the low 90s. So this is going to be really impactful for us. A bit of a shock to the system after these cooler than normal temperatures that we've been seeing. Really going to kind of flip and a bit of weather whiplash for us as we prepare for this warming trend. And that's all really kind of broken down with our temperatures. You can see today only expecting that daytime high temperature of about 64. For Tuesday, upper 60s. So we keep tacking on very slowly those warmer conditions. Wednesday, above our average of 72 today. And then we climb back up into the 90s. Yes, we've already gone through this back about the middle of May or so. We got a little taste of the summer season. That taste coming back. And, you know, this is kind of ideal. It's the best of both worlds for everybody. The rain lovers, you're getting your cooler and wetter weather. For those summer heat and sunshine lovers, you're getting a mix of that as well, all while we are reducing the pollen count for the allergy sufferers and also really keeping that fire potential on the lower end of things. So this is all great to see, a best of both worlds scenario, a little bit of everything for everybody, and we just so happen to be inching closer to those summer-like temperatures and sunshine for the summer lovers as we work our way into the week's end. But you notice that this heat streak is very short-lived. It still remains on Saturday, so great if you're maybe going out to the Rose City Festival. A lot of fun activities. We got a lot of the parades coming up for the Portland Rose Festival as well this week. So drier, sunnier, warmer conditions. Great to be out and about, especially if maybe you tried going to the city fair yesterday. You probably ran into a lot of that wet weather as well. So we got to talk about records, the potential to be maybe breaking some. Now the top row, that's our forecasted highs for Friday alone. The bottom row, that's where our current records hold firm. So Portland would have to climb to 93 degrees on Friday to break that record of 1948. Salem, your forecasted high, upper 80s, low 90s, a possibility by the end of the week, but not likely to break a record. The record holds tried and true of 1903, where we hit 98 degrees. And just look at Astoria, 94 the record, same year, 1903. But our forecasted high by the end of the week out along the coast, mid-70s, very summer-like for our shoreline. We like to see that, and great day to maybe escape the heat if you're not a summer heat lover. If you're in the valleys, the coast is going to be the place to go this weekend, but not expecting to break any records whatsoever. So good news on that front. So let's talk about the weather pattern. This is really kind of interesting to dissect. We also had a typhoon, so very similar to a hurricane, just named something different, far out into the western sections of the Pacific Ocean. That kind of helped play into a bit of that weather disrupt. So helping to send us the atmospheric river unseasonably late, but now it's really going to start to play in the shape of our jet stream. So again, that's the gatekeeper between the cold air to the north, the warm air to the south. And this is all going to be influential on our drying trend and our warming trend. So a trough, the cool pocket of air that you see sitting over the Gulf of Alaska, will kind of propagate itself a little bit further off to the west. Whereas a ridge, that's going to start to build out towards the western sections of the country. So we'll kind of just draw a little bit of a high pressure system right here. And what it does is it pushes our winds to go clockwise around that center of high pressure. So that means it's able to grab all of that desert southwest heat and funnel it right up into western Oregon and Washington. So we're talking about triple-digit heat down in the desert southwest, places like Phoenix, Arizona, as we move our way through the rest of this week. Very typical for them this time of year. But that heat, the drier weather, the summer desert-like temperatures, finding their way back up into western Oregon and Washington. So that's all due to that high-pressure system that's going to start to develop out towards the desert southwest. You can really kind of see the bullseye of that sitting over New Mexico, western Texas, southwest Colorado, all expecting a big warming trend for the western half of the country. So keep that in mind if you are traveling anywhere. Maybe you got friends or family members out that direction as well. Keep them in the loop that the summer heat, it's here for all of us to share. Whereas on the eastern seaboard, you can see that trough ever so slightly starting to dip its way just a little bit further to the south over the Great Lakes region, out towards New England. That's where the cooler weather will be. But again, for us here in the western half of the country, really seeing that ridge of high pressure, which again, we'll kind of draw right here. This is our jet stream. Everything north of that right here, that's going to be the cooler air. Everything south of that, that's going to be the warmer air. And that's exactly what we'll be seeing here in the next several days as we work our way through the week's end. But let's go ahead and break down the wet weather, because before we get to enjoy the dry, sunny conditions, we still got to get through the very tail end of this unseasonably late atmospheric river. You can see this is just one forecast model, the rain becoming a little bit more widespread. That's what we were talking about with our radar, that a lot of that moisture just hovering just offshore. It's moving its way from the west to the east, that onshore flow, the westerly winds, slightly on the breezier side for us, as we could see some gusts later this afternoon, close to about 20 miles per hour here in the Portland area. But nonetheless, still picking up on the wet weather trend for us, even through about 6 o'clock this evening. As we work our way through the overnight hours, midnight, early tomorrow morning, the wet weather just stays persistent, still filling up the rain gauge, as we near our about inch and a half or so average for the month of June, we'll likely be approaching that here with even the end of the very first week of the brand new month. So the wet weather is still a potential, but you'll notice those little streamlines that you see, and we'll go ahead and just take this full so you can see a little bit better. This is where we are expecting to see the winds transition from westerly to a little bit more southerly. So we've kind of cut off the accessibility of the moisture over the Pacific Ocean, and now we're just blowing the air over a dry landscape. So that's going to be one of our cutoff mechanisms for the wet weather. Again, this is Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's where we expect to still hold on to the wet weather. But you'll notice once we get into the late afternoon, evening hours, that's when we will slowly start to dry things back out again here across the Pacific Northwest. And we'll hold on to that cloud coverage. Temperatures still below average for us as we continue to move through the next 24 to 48 hours or so. So keep that in mind. It's once we work our way into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, keeping that cloud coverage at least for the start of the day on Wednesday, but then we slowly start to dry things back out. We see the return of the sunshine. That's going to help those temperatures to start to warm across our area once again. And then the winds are really primarily out of the north. Now, if they're a little bit more out of the northeast, so let's go ahead and draw this here just to give you a better idea. If we have the winds that come out of the northeast, those are going to be downsloping winds. Winds that come up and over the Cascades. Those typically are winds that speed up, warm up, and dry up. You might think back to 2020 when we had those devastating wildfires over the Cascades. Not expecting to see that this go around. Our moisture content on the surface is totally different than what it was in 2020. But those are the type of winds that we saw that helped to dry and warm us up back around the Labor Day time frame. Not the case, but again, downsloping winds, warming winds. That is if we see them out of the northeast. I don't think that is really going to be the case for us. So we'll take this back. We'll go ahead and show you what we could potentially be seeing. And I think that this is probably a little bit more likely. Primarily going to be out of the northwest, so a bit of an onshore flow. Temperatures over the ocean typically are a little bit on the cooler side. So that might help to increase the cloud coverage, stopping the sunshine from warming us up as much. And this is primarily when we get to like Sunday and Monday of next week. And that's going to kind of put an end to the warm weather trend. And I really think that that is the more likely scenario that we will see across our area. But before we get to the drier weather, we still got to fill up our rain gauges, add a couple of extra tenths of an inch to maybe closer to a quarter of an inch, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. If you're looking along the coastline, that's where we could potentially see the greatest rainfall totals. Now, I still think along the I-5 corridor, some of these numbers slightly on the higher end of things. Again, this is going to be primarily tonight and into tomorrow where we expect to pick up on that wet weather trend, but nonetheless, still expecting the wet weather. Now for today, here in the city, 64, I think that's as good as we're going to get. That's primarily going to be around like 4, 5, 6 o'clock this evening. If we see some of those clouds starting to break apart and a little bit of that sunshine starting to cut through. But our winds will be out of the southwest at about 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting close to about 20 miles per hour as we work our way through the rest of the day today. Tonight, the cloud coverage acts a bit like a blanket for us. It's going to keep us on the warmer side, mid-50s, very comfortable. I'm sure a lot of our warmer-loving plants really kind of soaking up this warmer weather trend, even if we are picking up on the moisture. A raindrop or two potential still remains, but then those winds become a little bit more southerly, like what we talked about. That will slowly start to work into our drying trend as our winds are at about 5 to 10. Our 7-day forecast, we'll go ahead and take this full for you as well so you can get a better picture of what we're talking about. There you go, the Junior Parade. That's all part of the Portland Rose Festival. It's going to be dry out there. Nice weather for us. Temperatures back up into the mid-70s. Some of us through the I-5 corridor could even potentially warm up into the upper 70s. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Then the sunshine, it really takes over for us on Thursday. Friday, there you go, 90 degrees. That's where we will get another taste of the summer-like heat. Now, the Grand Floral Parade on Saturday, it's still going to be toasty out there. This is your friendly reminder right now. Wear the sunscreen, Wear the hats, the light colored, loose-fitting clothing. Hydrate days before you're actually going to spend an extended amount of time outside, because this will be a bit of a shock to our system. We're not typically used to seeing these temperatures, and we haven't for the past several weeks. It was back in the middle of May that we experienced conditions this warm. So this is going to be a short-lived warming trend for us, but we are expecting to see those summer-like temperatures take over, putting into the unseasonably early atmospheric river, and that will be a nice change of pace for us. So I really hope that you enjoyed this very first live KOIN NOW weather breakdown for you. We're going to be doing these a lot more frequently. We'll eventually get our footing on Facebook. We'll be getting our footing a stronger hold on the YouTube channel. KOIN.com. If you want to get the latest information, that's where you want to head right now. We've got information on Highway 101 along the Oregon coast, reopening, all lanes back open now because of a landslide that we saw. And just to give you a little bit of a preview here, we can show you exactly what we're talking about right now on KOIN.com. So this is going to be the rest of your day. You could just kind of float around on here, see what's happening, the latest information. I know a lot of people are talking about the big sale happening at Powell's Books, the warehouse. We're talking about over 40K books over the weekend. Some people had to even leave because the line was just too long to get in there. So all of that information right here on KOIN.com. This is going to be your one-stop shop to really get the latest information that you want to know. And my favorite feature, I just go on this even just to kind of play around. It's under the weather tab. Then you go to weather radar. And this is going to be live radar. You can zoom into your neighborhood and get the latest information. See, is a storm cell moving overhead? Am I going to see the end of the rain showers? If you don't want to have it on your desktop, you can download the KOIN app. We also have a KOIN PDX weather app. Go ahead, just download both of them, play around with them, get the latest information. And of course, you can follow us and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Threads. We're on all the socials. Go ahead and get your information where it is easiest for you. And again, thank you so much for joining us here on our very first KOIN NOW live in our little makeshift studio, again, where I've been pushing all the buttons all afternoon long. And we continue to look forward to having you join us here. We'll eventually get our footing enough. That way you can ask some questions. We'll pull you into the mix, and we'll really get you the latest weather forecast that you want to know when you want to know it. So again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on KOIN 6 News starting at 4 o'clock.